What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Monkey Mind Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Danny Perez, along with Anthony Florentino. This is episode 46 featuring John Campomenosi. John is a freshman defenseman on the Trinity College men's ice hockey team. But before we get into the episode, this podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends over at Daily Dose CBD Inc. Flo and I will never recommend a product that we don't like, use, or believe in. Daily Dose is the best CBD and it genuinely helps us. We both use the tinctures and balms and notice a huge difference in how our body and mind feel on a day-to-day basis. We suggest you go pick some up at dailydosecbdinc.com and use promo code MonkeyMind15 for 15% off your purchases. That's promo code MonkeyMind15 for 15% off at dailydosecbdinc.com. Let's get into the episode.
There we go. Yes, that's Flo. Flo, this is Campo. He played with my little brother.
Hey, Flo, how you doing? Good, buddy. How about you? Not bad, thank you.
But yeah, let's get into it. Campo, welcome on, man. Appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Thank you. Really appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, of course. Just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and sport you play. And yeah, if you want to just talk about your hockey journey as well.
For sure. My name is John Campomenosi. I'm currently a freshman at Trinity College up in Hartford, Connecticut. I grew up playing out of the Ice Vault in Wayne, New Jersey. I started up playing at like 7 or 8 years old for the Bandits, which was a double A a double A team at the time, and then I started playing Hitman triple A my first year of 14U, and I stayed with the Hitman up until last year, just like ending my junior hockey career with the Hitman. So I stayed with the same rank and same organization my whole life, and now I'm a freshman at Trinity. That's kind of my whole hockey background. I played at Don Bosco Prep for 4 years there, which was great. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you've kind of dealt with some concussions in your career, right? And that's obviously we're a platform for athletes to talk about their mental health. And typically people with a lot of concussions tend to have, some anxiety and depression, things along those lines. So if you want to talk about your concussions and kind of some of the stuff that you've gone through.
Yeah, for sure. So I've unfortunately have had a really solid amount of concussions and head injuries, all from hockey, all hockey related. And they've definitely taken a toll on me. Not like long-term stuff I don't think it shouldn't affect me down the road. Just, I think I've probably sat out more games in my career than playing, due to head injuries. And my last year with the Hitmen, for my junior team, I played in a total of like 3 games. And then I sat out the rest of the year, which was, for me, I think probably one of the hardest years and one of the hardest things I went through, as I was trying to, play. You need to play to get into a college, right, and go to a school and play. And that was kind of taken away from me, unfortunately. So last year was super tough. I went, I was like really looking forward to like getting back in the groove of, my second year. I was feeling good about everything, and then like game 3, just got like blindsided. I like smacked my head on the glass, and it was one of those that I knew right away from having previous concussions. I knew right when the hit happened, I was like, yeah, that's a concussion. Just kind of, I've had, anytime I get my bell rung and like, I'm sure other hockey players can relate. Like there's those hits that you just sometimes know that's just like, whoa, like that definitely could be the one that's going to put me out for a little bit. And like I just said, like, unfortunately, that's kind of been the constant thing with me my whole career. So that's been really tough. I've had, like, it was, I think like 3 years in a row I had a concussion. And then I ended up taking, I want to say my 16U year, it might've been like 7, or maybe it was my first year 18s. I ended up sitting out like 6 months from hockey because of a concussion. And it was just like me and my family kind of got to the agreement that it was probably best to like take some time away from the game and just kind of like let my head like fully heal. And just kind of like build up strength. So I was working out and everything, just not skating. I was practicing, but just never would play in the game, to try to prevent another, concussion injury from happening. And like I said, the one from last year, I think was the worst one I've ever had. Not like symptom wise, but just the fact that that the number kept going up of how many I've had. And, it just got to the point where meeting with doctors, my coaches, my family, we all just kind of came to the conclusion that it was smart to just sit out the rest of the year. But it was tough too, because I didn't want to play my third year of junior hockey. I was kind of, I was kind of just ready to get to school. I wanted to get my life moving on forward. And that was like the plan. Like my plan hopefully was to go into school, Quinnipiac at first, which is a whole different story. That didn't work out. Just, not playing and stuff. And that definitely, like I said, that was another thing that I definitely think affected me mentally, and just dealing with like anxiety and stuff. Like I was just, obviously like I said earlier, like you got to play in junior hockey in order to go to a college and actually play there. And I wasn't doing that. So the whole Division 1, like the whole Division 1 dream just kind of fell through, and I was so at peace with that, and I completely understood why they did that. And obviously like no hard feelings there. Like they're, Rand over there is such a good guy and everything. So there was no hard feelings there. It was just another kind of, you could call it like, I just kind of like a dagger to the gut again. Like I just sat out the whole year, and then I was like, like, this big school, like, good hockey, Division 1, like it's like, kind of every hockey player's dream, like just kind of wasn't taken away from me. It was just kind of like fell through, which was upsetting, obviously. And that paid a toll on me. And then I had to deal with the anxiety of figuring out where I was going in the summer. And luckily over here, Coach Greason, the head coach here at Trinity, reached out and was able to get me into the school. And I was, I'm really fortunate to at least, step on the ice and still compete. And I think that's kind of like the big thing. Just going forward with hockey, just like using it kind of as a distraction, and just, not taking it for granted anymore. And I'm sure we'll get into more of it in this podcast, but just kind of how like my mindset has just changed due to all these concussions and everything, and just how I've kind of transformed my mindset from sometimes being in a dark place and, being depressed and not motivated to just do like the little things, to, like waking up every day and like trying to like put on a smile and just like enjoy what I have, and just be grateful that I'm alive, and be grateful that, I could lift weights still, and be able to skate. Cause I'm sure you guys have heard of it, and I've heard of it, of just guys that after injuries, they can't play anymore. So the big thing was, for me is just, I'm lucky to, sit here and talk with you guys. I'm lucky to, just go for a run and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, you brought up a lot there. I wanted to try and talk about the whole where your journey has, gone. And I think a lot of people don't realize the stress and the anxiety that can be caused from being a junior hockey player and trying to figure out where you're going to go and what you're going to do, and what route your life's going to take. And I think for you, it was just that feeling was 10 times more prevalent due to the fact that, the concussions and it not working out at Quinnipiac. And I don't think the average person realizes, and even frankly, someone who doesn't play hockey, where you have that junior hockey route, it's a very big step, and it's a very big commitment. And you don't really realize it in year one when you're first entering, that first year out of high school, whatever. But, a couple years down the road, and you're still trying to push and scratch and claw for a college commitment, and all your friends are at school kind of moving on with their lives, then you kind of have the second thoughts of like, what am I doing here? And you're just hoping on this dream, coming true and achieving your goals. And then on top of that, you had concussions, and then, it's just a tough road. And I don't think everybody really realizes that the position that a lot of players are in, to achieve this goal when they decide, hey, I'm going to go play juniors and not go to college for a couple of years. I think that's it weighs heavy on a lot of people.
Yeah, you said it really well there, Danny. I mean, like everyone, like obviously junior hockey is like a really, it's like some of like the most memorable years you'll have in your hockey career, no doubt about it. And, you create so many friendships and you meet so many new people. And I was lucky enough to play with like unbelievable guys my 2 years in juniors. Just like really, really classy guys, like super nice, super respectful, super hardworking. And, I had such a strong bond with so many of my teammates in junior hockey. But like you said, it's just such a grind, and it's so tough to get up every day and do the same exact thing, skate and then head right up to the gym and then go boxing, go for a run. And you go home, you eat. And then on top of that, like if you're 21, you now officially have to take classes. So you could be in your third year and you're going to the rink every day for a couple hours, just like, working your tail off, and then you get home and you're exhausted, but now you got to open up the computer and do some homework. Like there's a lot of stuff that, like you said, that I think kind of like goes under the radar about junior hockey. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but like you said, the stress about just finding a home, finding that school that you want to go to, that school that's going to take you is so stressful. And I have it now, just buddies reaching out, and obviously like it's completely weighing on some of my closest friends that just like, dude, like I'm in my last year of junior hockey. What's my plan? And I'm like, and I always tell them like it's gonna work out 100%. Like there's so many schools out there that would love to have you. It's just so stressful when you don't know. And now we're in February, and it's just like, wait, like what school is gonna take me? And it's definitely stressful. And I had to deal with that over the summer too. I don't think I committed to Trinity until like June 30th, which is just way past like every deadline. I obviously like didn't apply on time because I thought I was going to Quinnipiac. So it was just like that whole process of me reaching out to schools and trying to figure out where I actually was going to go was super stressful. But on top of that, just kind of going back to the mindset thing and my approach to life, I think I did a really good job handling just kind of like everything that was thrown at me. But that doesn't mean everyone is handling it, you know, in a way that's not taking a toll on their body. Like, did it take a toll on me? 100%. But there's always, someone else out there that's probably maybe not handling the situation as best, like, or as in a way that I guess I get in a manner that I did, I should say. But yeah, it definitely is super stressful just to figure out, like I said, you'll have your best years of hockey there, and it's so much fun. But the stress that comes along with it is so much. And like I just said too, like the whole like getting up and doing the same exact thing for months out of the year is tough. And then obviously it's just tough to go home and, like you said, just kind of like, is it really, or was it, I guess I should say, like, was it really worth it for me to skip over, take 2 years out of my life just to play a sport, and not go to school? And then I also think, like you brought it up, Danny, how like you were seeing your buddies at school, probably having a good time, they're getting their lives going. And then, you're a 21-year-old and you're not even a freshman yet in college. And I definitely think that stresses a lot of people out. And it stressed me out too, because then I would find myself comparing myself to other people and my buddies that were already at school. And I was like, is this really worth it for me to be playing junior hockey and like seeing my best friends that I grew up with, like now my best friends are juniors in college and I'm a 20-year-old freshman about to turn 21. Like, I think that still kind of impacts me a little bit, just being like, wow, like my best friends that I grew up with are, they're going to be out in the real world in 2 years. And I'm 1 semester into my college experience. And it's just like, obviously, like I tell myself, like, there's no rush to get your life started. I think like that's a big thing I always tell myself, like it's okay if I'm a 20 or a 21-year-old freshman, like I'm going to be where my best friends are in a couple of years anyway. I'm just going to be a little bit older than they are, like starting up. So, but I definitely think I found myself a lot, especially my first year of junior hockey and last year, just like seeing a lot of my friends at schools and like, doing homework. And I was just kind of sitting at home, like playing video games and just going to the rink every day. So I think that was pretty tough on me too, personally.
Yeah. I mean, in hockey, like everyone knows guys that, play until basically age out in juniors. What were some of the things that, you talk about how you changed your mindset, and obviously you're dealing with the concussions and whatnot. What were some of the things that kind of helped you mold yourself into the person you are now? And, what were some of the things that were helping you kind of adjust to everything and, on top of, trying to figure out school and whatnot? What were some of the things that just kind of kept you grounded and helped you get through it?
Personally, I think the biggest thing was getting myself to start meeting with a sports psychologist. I think he was the one that completely turned my life around, like did a full 180 and just kind of got me on the right track again. And I was meeting with him like 2 times in person before COVID every week. And just was talking about my problems or something that was, weighing in on my shoulders and putting weight on my back. And I think he was the one that definitely kind of got me out of, that dark place that I was sitting in for so long. Which ultimately, and then obviously he taught me a lot of, new ways to, I guess, incorporate this transformed mind that I have now. So I started meditating a lot. even just by like breathing, like literally just sitting in a dead silent room for 2 or 3 minutes alone, and just breathing. I found really helpful. I found there's this thing called like the 5 minute journal, that I got into a lot. And it's just like you wake up and you write down like 3 things you're grateful for every day. And, like, what do you want to accomplish today? Like, what are your goals for today? And then like write 3 things that you like about yourself. So I got into like these routines that I definitely think through all of kind of, the adversity that I went through, not only last year, but the years prior to that, it was nice for me to like even just put like pen to paper and put, see myself right that I'm going to do this today and actually get it done. And then I'd go to bed that night and be like, I checked off that. I checked off that. I think those 2 things were really helpful for me to kind of, keep my head through this whole process that I've been going through. And I think, like you said, just like the stress that came along with last year and junior hockey and wasn't playing, definitely being around my team, even though I wasn't playing. And for 2.5 months, I didn't even skate or lift. Just showing up to the rink and just sitting with them in the locker room. Obviously, it was really tough for me to do that, and see them on the ice every day. It was just nice for me to interact with them and just have a couple laughs every now and then. I think I really needed to just, I found myself just depressed and sitting alone in my house and just not who I would be typically, just because of the weight that came with the concussion and just not being able to play. And it gets so frustrating too, because I just feel like year after year since I was like 13, I've just been getting concussions, and it's just like it got to the point where it just put me in such a dark and miserable place. And I think ultimately getting myself help, talking to my parents and saying I need to go see someone, was kind of like the big like life-changing moment for me, and has ultimately inspired me to talk to you guys right now. I remember when I first started dealing with anxiety, I was beyond scared to talk about it because, the whole big thing around like men's mental health is like, you don't want to look like soft, right? You don't want to drop down to a level because, we're men and we're supposed to be strong. And that was me at first when I first started getting anxiety. And it was so scary for me to even bring it up to my parents, just telling my parents that I didn't feel good. But luckily for me, I had a really good group of friends that I would talk to them. And then ultimately my one really good buddy, Colin, was just like, you got to tell your parents, man. Like, I'm telling you, I went through this similar experience. Like, you got to tell them, and I'm telling you, it's going to feel so good. And I told my parents it was really tough, but it was ultimately basically put me on the track that I'm on now. And ultimately got me the help meeting with my sports psychologist. And so back to like your original question, I would say, I think meeting with that sports psychologist and talking about everything was the most life-changing experience I've had, for sure.
Talk about your concussions and how that treatment was, and some of the effects that occurred because of it. Did the anxiety stem because of the concussions, or the older you get, do you look back on your life and realize, oh, like the anxiety was always kind of there, or do you feel like the concussions or the anxiety was a direct result of the concussions?
I thought originally when I first started getting anxiety, it was because of my head and just having multiple concussions. And I met with my head doctor, who I've been seeing forever now. And he was like, ultimately, like, yeah, I don't think your concussions would like necessarily like spark up anxiety or maybe make it worse. But I think like obviously like having a concussion and then finally, I guess, like opening up and like noticing that I had anxiety, I think it definitely didn't help it, especially just going back to last year. It was obviously, like, I'm sure you guys have been injured before and like sitting out, and it's just tough to watch your teammates play and you just sit on the sidelines. And I just felt anytime I had a concussion, I was always out for like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So I don't know if the concussions ultimately resulted in me being anxious all the time, but it definitely, dealing with concussions and anxiety and depression at the same time, like I just said, it put me in a pretty bad place. But I guess things that I would typically do on like a daily basis were just, like I said, just like take like a minute or two just to meditate by myself, or like I said before, just like being at the rink with some of the guys was nice, but ultimately like the anxiety and the mix of concussion as well at the same time was not great for me at all. And it just kind of goes back to the whole like junior hockey thing. Like I need to be playing right now, but I'm not. So there was just a whole bunch of stuff on my plate that was, I think, freaking me out. And I only recently started getting anxiety, probably like 2 years ago now. I think I've always kind of been an anxious kid, no doubt, but it never got to the point where I was like just like nervous to like leave my room or nervous to like go out and hang out with my friends or go on like go sleep over at a friend's house. Like I'd be nervous to like go get dinner out with a couple buddies. So that was definitely tough, but I think like now too, it's just completely changed, which has been great.
Yeah, how does it how would you say your anxiety manifests for you? Um, do you feel it like your physical body start to, you know, get all sort of like, I don't know, I guess out of whack, like tingly and those sort of things? You know, for me, like I start to like my visuals start like the room starts to kind of like sink in on me, and I get like a really claustrophobic feeling, and then I feel like I have to throw up, and I'll just be dry heaving, like gasping for air. That's how it'll manifest for me, and then I'll have like a that's like one big episode, and then I'll tend to get super depressed for I say months at a time and lose a bunch of weight. But I mean it's different for everybody. How would you say that your anxiety and your depression manifest for you?
Um, I think, like I said just before, like certain situations that I know are going to happen or being around a group of people that I don't personally know that well, I think could make me anxious because then I feel like I don't know anyone in a certain room or a certain area. And I just get like, I've never gotten like tingly. I get like sweaty and nervous though. Like I'm starting to be like, I guess like the word you use claustrophobic too is a pretty good one. Just being like feeling alone and feeling like tight and like very tense. And just like wanting, and I found myself, like you said too, like just like curling up in my bed and not moving. Just like I have to close my eyes. I need to like, and I found that my room was like my like safe place, if that makes sense. Like that was the place. Like if I was feeling anxious, like I would want to just go like lay down in my bed. Um, but I think like the whole claustrophobic thing's a good way to put it. Like I just felt like nervous and you know, I went days last year too where I wasn't eating a single thing all day. Um, and I would go 2 days in a row with like maybe eating like a cookie, like just junk food, just like a little piece of junk food. And I lost so much weight. I lost like 25 pounds last year in a matter of like 2 months. Just from like not working out. I couldn't get myself to eat food. Um, and that was like, I think another thing that gives me anxiety is looking at my body. And I'm sure other people have maybe had like similar experiences, but for me, if I look at my body in the mirror and I'm like not satisfied or I look like skinny, I like start freaking out. And I've noticed that working out has been like such a big way to like feel confident about how I look. Um, and I think like getting in the weight room is just such a big escape for me too, like being on the ice. Like it's just like a place where I just don't think about stuff. Like I just like I'm there with like a buddy or two and we just like, you know, talk about whatever and we just lift weights and like that's but I think another part of my anxiety definitely stems from like not feeling confident in my shoes, like not feeling confident about how I look or how I communicate with people maybe and like how I have conversations with other people. And then like if I'm having a conversation with someone and I like start thinking like am I like not talking well, and then I start to like freak out and then it like gets to my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where it all kind of stems from.
Yeah, Camp. I think that's awesome that you're like being so candid about that, because I think that's something a lot of people definitely struggle with. Is like that self awareness, but like overly self aware and just like a lack of confidence. I know I definitely struggle with that sort of stuff, and then you start to overthink it, and then it's a never ending cycle, and it really beats you up. I think that's awesome that you're being vulnerable and being able to talk about it, because a lot of people go their whole lives and don't even care to admit that. But man, like everybody goes through that. Everybody gets super insecure and super self-conscious. But the fact that you're being able to be as open as you are and as descriptive as you are, I think is super cool, man. Super awesome that you're doing that. And um, I hope a lot of people can be as open as you are and grow to that point. Because I think once we just stop putting these walls up and just be completely honest with ourselves and with each other, I think it just makes us understand each other more, be nicer to each other, be more respectful, and understand that everyone's got something that they're dealing with. Maybe it's not the same, but everyone's got their own little insecurities, their own things about themselves that they don't appreciate or like. And I think that's awesome. And I think you talked about your mindset shift that you worked through with your sports psychologist, and you mentioned being grateful and writing down 3 things you're grateful for, and every morning. And I think you know the attitude of gratitude is like such an important thing. And even on our worst days, there's always something to be grateful for. And I think that you developing that mindset is just so important. So talk about some of the mindset shifts that you were taught, I guess little cues that you were taught to kind of reframe your mindset into a more positive one.
I think the biggest thing was not, I think it's important to take life seriously, no doubt, but I think I took it way too seriously. And I took just like everything I did, I just like was so serious about it. And I think a big thing for me was never taking life like so seriously, like just kind of like sitting back and just enjoying it. Um, and a big thing for me was just like, I never really thought about, or never wanted to think about like, oh, like you only have like one shot to like live your life, right? Like, everyone dies one day. And I think the big thing for me was just like, I need to find a way to wake up every single day and just like have a smile on my face and just like laugh. And, you know, schoolwork's so important, but like, and a big thing too, like if I like got like a bad grade on a test, like it would ruin me. And I was like, I hate sweating. And I used to sweat over the small stuff so much. And now it's just like, you know what, I got a bad grade, I got to be better next time. Like I just don't want to sweat like the small things in life because it's too short. And I just wanted to like wake up every day. I think the big thing that I always tell myself is like wake up and just like have a great day, like be happy, like talk to people, like say hello, say thank you, like be kind, be respectful to others, like you just mentioned before. Like I think that's a big thing that I just want to do. And a big thing for me is just like I want to like make other people happy, not like taking all the time out of my day, not because I think personal happiness is so important, but I want to like have like a great time with my friends. Like I want to like share laughs and share smiles and do fun things with them. And just like going back to the whole life's too short thing. And it's just true, it is, because at any given second it could end. And I think another thing that kind of weighed in on me was the Kobe Bryant death. And I think that weighed in on so many people about this whole like you're not like indestructible, and everyone thought Kobe was. And I think that was another thing that really hit everyone so hard, including myself. And I was just like, wow, any day it could just be gone in a blink of an eye, which is so scary. So I just, like I said, so now I just want to like wake up and just like have a great day, approach every day with a great attitude, and never let like the little things like ruin my mood, or never let a small argument with someone ruin my day, or a bad grade on a test, or didn't have a good class. Like I don't want to let those things dictate the rest of my day. Like I should, there's no reason to have a 60-cent event in your day just completely ruin the next like 5 hours. You know what I mean? Like I don't want these little things that always come up in our lives to just weigh in on us so much, and we just hold that over our heads. I think that was a big thing. And then going back to the whole just being grateful and having gratitude. The big thing for me was with my injuries, as much as they sucked and beat me up and put me in a really, really dark place, I'm still alive. And like I said earlier, like I'm still able to go out and skate. I could go play the game I love every day. I'm healthy. I have a great family. I have a great group of friends. Like my life, as much as it has been tough over the past couple months and years for me mentally, I still have so many things to be grateful for. And I think realizing and nitpicking what I do have, and realizing how amazing like this life that I'm living right now is, it made me like just kind of like take a step back and be like, I have so much. My parents have done so much for me. My friends have always been there for me. Like what's not to be like happy about? Like there's, and like you said, everyone has their own little things, little insecurities that are going on in their lives. And another big thing I told myself, and I always tell myself, is there's always someone out there that's going through it worse than you are. there's always someone else out there that had it worse than you did. And that's like a big thing for me too. Like I said, like the concussions were terrible, and I think it's like one of the worst injuries. I always told my friends like I'd rather break a bone, and just like the head trauma is so tough. But I always just being able to wake up every day and like feel my arms and feel my body and wiggle my toes, like that's, to me, like that's like a victory. Like the fact that I'm able to sit here and speak to you guys over a phone call, like that's like a victory. Like I'm able to speak. Like some people can't do that. Some people can't write. I could do all of it. Like I still have everything that I've always had, which is, to me, like it's a win. Like my life is great if I have, I could feel stuff, I could smell stuff, I could taste stuff. Like life's great. I could skate, I could work out, I could go hang out with friends and talk to them. Like as much as life has kind of beat me down, life is still beyond amazing. So I think that's kind of where the attitude changed. And I never, before I started meeting with my sports psychologist and talked about my anxiety, I never would have, I guess, had that look on life. I never would have thought about like, well, life's too short. Like I never would have woken up and been like, you know what, today, I'm going to make sure today that I always have a smile on my face. I'm going to be nice to everyone. I'm going to say hello to everyone. I'm going to say please and thank you. Like I never would have thought about that stuff. But now I wake up and I'm like, let me do this today. Let me do that. Like, let me wake up and just be in a great mood. Let's have a wonderful day. And I never had that 2 years ago. And I think most of it definitely stemmed from meeting with a sports psychologist and just kind of like looking at like the bigger picture in life and not worrying too much about like the little things that sometimes beat people up and break them down. And I just didn't want that to happen to me. So even now, if I have a bad grade on a test or a quiz, I'm not going to let it completely ruin me. And I don't want like other people to like, obviously like there's different things that different people are going through that are weighing on them a lot, but life's too short, I think, to just kind of hold grudges and be angry at life and be mad. So I think that's just kind of the whole shift in my whole like outlook on life. So, but it's been great, and I have my sports psychologist and a lot of great people around me to thank for that. And at the end of the day too, like I always say it, which is crazy, but I'm so happy I had these concussions. Like beyond grateful that every single one of the concussions that I've had, I'm so happy I had them, because if I never had any of this adversity thrown at me or any of these injuries that put me out for months on end, I don't think I would ever be sitting here talking to you today like this. And I would never, ever have that outlook on life. So thanks to my concussions, I do. And I'm beyond grateful for that, as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it though. Like my mom has a saying, it's in every lesson find the blessing. And obviously injuries are out of our control, but we live and we learn, and you got to find the positive in something that throws us a bit of a curveball. But I think that the approach you have and the shift that you made is awesome, because I don't think people really understand that concussions are probably the most frustrating injury, because one day you'll feel fine, then the next day you'll feel terrible, or it's just it's physical and emotional, which I don't think people understand. So, I mean, to have as many as you did and to find a positive in those things and the mindset you have now is just, I think it's great. So good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Appreciate those words. Thank you.
And also, I think a couple of things that you were saying before. You're the first person who's ever really, from what I can remember on here, talk about how you're grateful for your taste, your smell, and like you can wiggle your toes. And I don't know, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, like, yeah, like no one really thinks about those little things, and we get so wrapped up in our day and the big problems. But I think that's such an important thing, is that you have all of your abilities and all these great gifts that you're born with, and just being appreciative of those little things. Those are the wins, and breaking life down into those smaller moments and being appreciative for those simpler things, just like having your ability to talk and hear and your senses. And I think that's so important, and something that a lot of us kind of take for granted, I think. And I think another thing too that you said was being grateful being grateful for your concussions. Matthew McConaughey's book talks about, it's called Green Lights. He said, he talks about there's like moments in your life that are red lights and the no-goes, opportunities that didn't happen, opportunities you wanted to happen, but for whatever reason they didn't, whether it be deaths in the family or just random stuff. But in the end, it's blocking you because you don't need that right now, or you don't need it in general. And it's actually a green light because it's pushing you in a direction that's more prosperous or better fit for you. I think you having that mindset and that framework in your head of you're grateful for them, you're grateful for your concussions, which to some might be a ridiculous statement, but it's not, because without that, you don't have this newfound appreciation for those little things, and maybe you go your whole life taking your gifts for granted, going each day taking it for granted, as opposed to meditating and finding peace in that and writing things that you're grateful for. People don't do that. And when you start to do those and implement those things into your lives and make them habits, it's you feel better about yourself, and you feel better going throughout the day, because you don't find yourself needing the most materialistic stuff to make you happy. It's just how you wake up, that's what you're appreciative for, wiggling your toes, being able to taste the great food that you get to eat. And yeah, the fact you even get to skate too, man, is a plus. I have buddies who can't even play hockey anymore, and can't play men's league in fear of another concussion or whatever the case is. So that's awesome that you have that mindset, and your appreciation for those events that have happened, and knowing that without that you're not who you are today because of them.
No doubt. Thank you. I appreciate the words again. I really do. But
yeah.
it's definitely been a pretty crazy journey. But like I said, as crazy as the whole like thankful for my injuries sounds, it like you just said, Danny, I would never have this appreciation for life. I really wouldn't. So there's always like you said, like, you have to find the positives in every situation. And for me, having a lot of concussions has been such a positive in my life. So
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Yeah, Flo, do you have anything else for him?
No, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever heard someone say what you said about, like Danny just mentioned, being grateful for your taste or wiggling your toes. Like, I've heard people say, I'm blessed to wake up today or something like that, but like to pinpoint little things like that really does make you think. So I'm grateful that you came on and opened up. Concussions are it's a tough road for some people, and you look at all the guys in the NHL that have struggled. Like it's just a tough road, and an emotional roller coaster. So to come out on top the way you have, I think that's great. So I appreciate you coming on.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me too.
One last thing, actually, before we let you go here. If you had some words of advice for someone who went through the same thing that you went through regarding your whole journey and the concussions and all that stuff, what's something that you would have wanted to know, or a piece of advice that you could give to anybody who is going through the same things that you're going through in that time?
I think the big thing right now is, and it was for me too, like I said, was speaking up about it. And I know so many people are so scared to speak up about anxiety and depression because it may look like a weakness, but and that whole thing started with Hunter, who you guys had on at Babson, and like this whole like Instagram thing and us sharing our stories. And the whole goal there is just to inspire even one person, and just have that person inspire one other person, and just and it's what you guys are doing here, and having a podcast talking about this stuff is amazing. And so I think talking about it is a piece of advice that goes such a long way. And I think speaking up about your insecurities and stuff that makes you depressed or anxious is huge. I would say if you think you need to go see a therapist or sports psychologist, do it, and don't let that make you think like you're weak for whatever reason. And obviously, like, it was like a little tough and interesting at first to be like telling my friends, being like, hey, I go see someone and like talk about my problems, but ultimately it was life changing for me, and it could be life changing for anyone. That's definitely a piece of advice. And I think also the biggest thing that I did too was just like writing down what I'm grateful for. Like I was saying, meditating, there's a bunch of free apps out there. There's just one Insight timer that I use that it literally just puts you like through a guided lesson and a guided course. You could do breathing. They have different categories. So you could like kind of pick what mood you're feeling. And they just like send you through like a quick little like course. And so I think like meditation has been great. And then speaking up is probably two of the best pieces of advice I could give someone else.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's I'd agree. I think speaking up is so important. So happy you said that. But yeah, thank you again, man, for coming on. We really appreciate having you on here and telling your story. And thank you again for being vulnerable too. So really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. I really, like I said, I love what you guys are doing, and this is so important to talk about. And I love that there's, this platform out here. And I personally love to speak about it. Just because, like you said, I want to inspire other people to speak up about it as well. And what you guys are doing is amazing. So thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to come on and use this platform and tell my story. I'm really grateful that Danny, you reached out and we were able to set this up. So this has been beyond amazing. And like I said, I love talking about it. Don't be afraid to ever like reach out to someone that has been through it. They'd love to talk to you as well. So thank you guys so much again. Be well.
Yeah, appreciate it, Campo. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Yep. See ya.